What if I told you that there's a single sentence, just one sentence, that could completely transform your financial reality, and it was hidden in plain sight by one of the most influential prosperity teachers of all time? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've probably heard countless promises about manifestation techniques, abundance affirmations, and visualization methods that claim to bring wealth into your life. Has this ever happened to you? You've tried scripting your desires, repeated countless affirmations, visualized your dream bank account until your head hurt, yet somehow the breakthrough you're seeking remains just out of reach? Here's what most people don't know. Florence Scovel Shinn, the legendary author who transformed millions of lives with her teachings on prosperity, consciousness, carried a secret throughout her entire career. A technique so profound, so direct in its simplicity, that she only revealed it in her final teachings. Her most devoted students were left wondering why she had waited until the very end to share something this powerful. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because this isn't another manifestation method to add to your collection. This isn't about scripting your ideal life in a journal, creating vision boards, or repeating affirmations until you convince yourself they're true. This isn't even about visualizing scenes until they feel real in your imagination. Stay with me until the end, because what Florence discovered goes far deeper than anything she had taught before. She realized that we've been approaching abundance completely backwards. While everyone else was focused on doing techniques, she uncovered something that isn't about doing at all. It's about a fundamental shift in understanding that changes everything. Think about this for a moment. What if the reason your financial desires haven't manifested isn't because you're not trying hard enough, but because you've been operating from a place that actually contradicts what you're seeking? What if every time you say, "I want to be wealthy," or "I hope money comes to me," you're unknowingly pushing abundance away from yourself? Florence Scovel Shinn discovered that there's a specific way of speaking, a particular sentence structure that doesn't just request abundance, it commands it. Not through force, not through desperation, but through aligning with a truth so fundamental that the universe has no choice but to respond. This single sentence doesn't beg the universe for money. It doesn't hope for financial freedom. Instead, it operates from a place of such profound understanding about the nature of reality that it literally reshapes your entire financial destiny from the inside out. The method she revealed was so direct, so pure in its approach, that it left even her closest followers stunned. Because once you understand this principle, once it truly clicks in your consciousness, everything changes. Your entire life begins to bend in response to this new understanding, and what seemed impossible before becomes not just possible, but inevitable. If you're ready for this deeper level of truth about consciousness and abundance, I'd love to have you subscribe. This is where we go beyond surface techniques and discover what actually creates lasting transformation. But here's where it gets really interesting. In one of her final teachings, Florence Scovel Shinn said something that completely shattered everything her students thought they knew about prosperity, prayer, and the very nature of reality itself. She titled this revolutionary revelation, "God and I are one." And when she spoke these words, there was something different in her voice. Gone were the gentle metaphors and poetic symbolism that had characterized her earlier work. This was raw, unfiltered truth. She declared that the I am within you is literally God, not a representation of God, not a connection to God, not a spark of the divine, but God itself, dwelling within your very being. This wasn't spiritual poetry or inspirational language designed to make people feel better about themselves. Florence was revealing the hidden truth that transforms everything about how manifestation actually works. Most people completely miss this crucial understanding, and it's precisely why their financial manifestations fail time after time. They approach abundance from a place of separation, believing they need to convince some external force to grant their wishes. They pray to a God they imagine is somewhere out there, hoping their requests will be heard and answered. They repeat affirmations as if trying to program the universe from the outside, never realizing they've been approaching this entire journey from the wrong direction. The transformation happens when you grasp this mind-bending reality. When you speak, when you declare your financial desires, you're not just sending words into the cosmos hoping something magical will happen. You're speaking from the very name of creation itself. Every time you say, "I am," you're invoking the same creative force that brought galaxies into existence, that formed stars and planets, that breathes life into every living thing. This is the hidden truth behind why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth while others struggle despite doing all the right techniques. Those who naturally prosper understand, either consciously or unconsciously, that their words carry the authority of creation. They don't beg for abundance because they recognize they are the source of abundance. They don't hope for financial security because they speak from a place where security already exists. When Florence revealed this secret, she was essentially handing her students the master key to reality itself. She was showing them that every financial limitation, every money block, every struggle with prosperity stems from this fundamental misunderstanding about who they really are. The moment you truly comprehend that the I am consciousness within you is the same force that creates worlds, everything shifts. This revelation completely changes how you approach your relationship with money. Instead of trying to manifest from a place of lack, you begin to recognize that abundance is your natural state. Instead of working to convince the universe you deserve wealth, you start speaking from the place where all wealth originates. The decisions you make, the thoughts you think, the words you speak, all carry a different vibration when they come from this deeper understanding. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding this principle intellectually is just the beginning. There's a specific way to embody this truth that transforms it from mere concept into lived reality, and it all comes down to how you use those two simple words that carry infinite creative power. Write in the comments, "I am ready for this truth," if this revelation is beginning to shift something inside you. Those two words, "I am," are far more powerful than most people ever realize. Every single time you place words after "I am," you're not just making casual conversation or describing your current circumstances. You're wielding the creative force of the universe itself. When you say "I am broke," you think you're simply stating a fact about your bank account. But what you're actually doing is using the name of God to anchor that exact condition into your reality. This is where most people unknowingly sabotage their own financial transformation. They spend their days unconsciously programming limitation into their lives through careless speech. "I am struggling. I am always behind on bills. I am not good with money." Each of these statements carries the full creative authority of the divine consciousness within you. The universe doesn't argue with your declarations. It doesn't question whether you really mean it or whether you're just having a bad day. It simply responds to who you declare yourself to be. The hidden truth that Florence discovered is that the world around you is constantly responding to your identity, not your hopes or wishes. You can hope for financial abundance all you want, but if your core identity remains, "I am someone who struggles with money," then struggle is exactly what you'll continue to experience. Your external circumstances are simply a mirror reflecting back the identity you've been unconsciously claiming. This revelation creates a profound shift in how you approach your entire financial journey. Instead of trying to manifest from a place of lack, instead of hoping and wishing for things to change, you begin to understand that transformation happens through a fundamental decision about who you are. The moment you grasp this concept, everything about your relationship with prosperity begins to shift at the deepest level. Right now, I want you to experience something powerful. Take a slow, deep breath and say these words out loud. "I am financially secure." Don't rush through it. Let each word land in your consciousness. Feel how different this is from saying, "I want to be financially secure," or "I hope to become wealthy someday." Those statements place your desired reality somewhere in the future, always just out of reach. But when you declare, "I am financially secure," something completely different happens. If this message resonated deep within you, a like helps ensure others who are ready for this understanding will find their way here too. You're not trying to convince the world of anything. You're not attempting to manipulate external circumstances through positive thinking. Instead, you're remembering a truth that has always existed within you, waiting patiently for you to claim it. This isn't about faking it until you make it, or pretending something that isn't true. This is about recognizing and embodying the financial security that exists at the level of your true identity before it has even manifested in your physical experience. The impact of this simple shift in language is profound because it aligns your conscious declarations with the creative power that flows through you. When your words match the divine authority within you, when your identity statements come from this deeper understanding, the universe has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new self-concept. But there's something even more transformative that happens when you truly embody this principle, something that goes beyond just changing your words. Write "I declare it" in the comments if you can feel the difference between hoping for abundance and being abundance. What happens when you speak or write those words, "I am financially secure," goes far beyond simple positive thinking or hopeful affirmations. You're actually participating in a sacred act of creation. Each time you declare this truth, whether aloud or written down, you're not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't real. You're aligning your conscious awareness with a deeper reality that already exists within the quantum field of infinite possibility. This process of alignment is like carving truth into the very fabric of reality itself. Think of it as programming the universe at its source code level. When you speak from the name of God within you, when you use the creative authority of "I am" with full awareness of its power, you're not just sending out a request or a wish. You're issuing a divine decree that begins to reorganize the energy patterns around your life. The journey of transformation becomes less about trying to change your external circumstances and more about remembering and embodying the truth of who you are at the deepest level. Every declaration becomes an act of remembrance rather than an attempt to create something new. Financial security isn't something you need to acquire from outside yourself. It's something you recognize as already being part of your essential nature. But there's an even more profound layer to this revelation that Florence discovered, something that goes beyond attaching any specific words to "I am" at all. She found that there's tremendous power in returning to the pure essence of those two words without any additions or qualifications whatsoever. I want you to experience this right now. Find a quiet space around you. Turn off any background music. Step away from distractions and simply sit in complete stillness. In this sacred silence, say just two words: "I am." Not "I am wealthy," not "I am successful," not even "I am financially secure." Just "I am." Let these words ring through your consciousness like a bell echoing in an empty cathedral. In that moment of pure being, something extraordinary happens. You're not reaching for anything external. You're not trying to become something you're not already. Instead, you're remembering the essential truth of your existence. You're touching the source from which all abundance flows, the wellspring of infinite possibility that exists at the core of your being. This simple practice connects you directly to the same creative force that brings galaxies into existence, that orchestrates the perfect timing of seasons, that guides every cell in your body to function in perfect harmony. When you rest in pure "I am" consciousness, you're not separate from this force. You are this force expressing itself through your unique perspective and experience. The impact of this recognition ripples through every decision you make, every thought you think, and every word you speak. From this place of deep knowing, financial abundance stops being something you chase and becomes something that naturally flows through your life as an expression of who you are. But the real transformation begins when you learn to carry this consciousness into your everyday moments and decisions. Write "I remember" in the comments if you can feel the difference between trying to become something and simply being what you already are. This practice of sacred stillness is where the real magic begins to unfold. When you deliberately create space for this divine connection, when you consciously step away from the constant noise and distractions that fill most people's days, you're creating the perfect environment for profound transformation to take root in your life. Let me guide you through this experience right now. Wherever you are, find a way to minimize distractions around you. Put your phone aside, turn off any background noise, and give yourself permission to simply be present. Sit comfortably and allow your shoulders to naturally drop and relax. Feel the tension leaving your body as you take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and then exhale even more slowly through your mouth. Now, in this space of growing stillness, speak those two words again, I am. But this time, let them settle into your body like the resonance of a bell in a silent cathedral. Don't rush to the next thought or the next distraction. Simply allow these words to reverberate through your entire being, feeling their vibration in your chest, in your bones, in the very core of your existence. What you're experiencing in this moment was that profound sense of quiet awareness, that deep stillness that seems to expand beyond the boundaries of your physical body. This isn't emptiness. This isn't boredom or the absence of something meaningful. What you're touching is the very essence of divine consciousness itself. Florence Scovel Shinn recognized this sacred space as the foundation of all creation, the source point from which every manifestation in the physical world originates. Right now, in this very moment, you're not just practicing a technique or following spiritual instructions. You're stepping directly into the source from which all abundance flows. You're connecting with the same infinite intelligence that orchestrates the movement of planets, that guides the growth of every living thing, that maintains the perfect balance of forces throughout the universe. There's something special about people who are ready to move beyond typical manifestation advice and embrace these profound truths. If that's you, hit subscribe and join this journey of awakening. This realization completely transforms your relationship with manifestation and abundance. When you recognize that this stillness, this quiet awareness within you, is actually God expressing through your individual consciousness, everything changes. You stop looking outside yourself for validation, for permission, for someone or something else to grant you the financial security you desire. The journey becomes an inner one, a process of returning, again and again, to this place of deep knowing where your true identity as an abundant being is never in question. From this space, your decisions carry a different quality. Your thoughts align with a higher wisdom. Your words become expressions of divine truth rather than desperate attempts to convince a reluctant universe. But here's what Florence discovered about carrying this consciousness into your daily life and why most people struggle to maintain this connection once they return to their regular routines. Drop "I feel it" in the comments if you can sense this deeper awareness beginning to awaken within you. The challenge most people face is maintaining this profound connection once they step back into their daily routines. Life has a way of pulling you back into old patterns, old ways of thinking and speaking that contradict everything you've just experienced in that sacred stillness. The bills still arrive in the mailbox. The bank account still shows the same numbers. And suddenly, the clarity you felt just moments ago begins to fade like a distant memory. This is precisely why Florence emphasized the critical importance of remembering. Not just remembering the technique or the words, but remembering the truth of who you are at the deepest level. If even one part of you is beginning to recognize this divine identity within yourself, if something inside you is starting to awaken to this reality, then you must guard this awareness like the precious treasure it is. The world around you will constantly try to convince you otherwise. Friends and family might inadvertently reinforce old limiting beliefs about money. Society will bombard you with messages about scarcity and struggle. Your own mind, trained by years of conditioning, will attempt to pull you back into familiar patterns of lack and limitation. This is why you need constant reminders of this truth, gentle nudges that bring you back home to the awareness of your divine nature. The transformation becomes permanent when you begin to understand the sacred responsibility that comes with this knowledge. Once you truly realize that I am is literally the name of God expressing through your consciousness, everything about how you communicate changes at a fundamental level. You can no longer speak carelessly after those two words. You can no longer casually attach fear, worry, lack, or limitation to that holy name. This shift represents one of the most profound changes in your entire spiritual and financial journey. You stop speaking from a place of desire, from a position of wanting something you don't have. Instead, You begin speaking from identity, from the place of already being what you seek to experience. The difference is not merely semantic, it's energetic, vibrational, and creative. When you say, I am struggling financially, you're not just describing your current circumstances. You're using divine creative authority to anchor struggle into your reality. But when you understand the sacred nature of these words, when you recognize the power you're wielding every time you speak them, your entire relationship with language transforms. Your words become prayers, but not the begging kind of prayers most people are familiar with. They become declarations of divine truth, statements that carry the full creative authority of the universe itself. Every sentence becomes an opportunity to either reinforce your divine abundance or to contradict it through unconscious programming. But there's a specific way to guard against this unconscious self-sabotage, a method that Florence developed to help her students maintain their new identity even when external circumstances haven't yet caught up to their inner transformation. Write, I choose my words carefully in the comments if you're beginning to understand the sacred power of conscious speech. This protective method against unconscious self-sabotage begins with a fundamental shift in how you use language, particularly around one of the most common words that unknowingly blocks financial abundance. The word want might seem harmless, even positive, but it carries within it a vibration that actually pushes abundance away from you every time you use it. When you say, I want to be financially free, you think you're expressing a positive desire, but what you're actually doing is confirming to the universe that you don't currently have financial freedom. The very act of wanting something places it permanently in the future, always just out of reach. You're essentially programming delay into your manifestation by declaring that what you seek exists somewhere other than here and now. Consider this profound truth. God doesn't want anything. Divine consciousness doesn't hope for things to improve or wish for better circumstances. The creative force of the universe operates through declaration, through the absolute certainty of is, rather than the uncertainty of might be. When you align your speech with this divine pattern, when you say, I am financially secure, instead of I want to be financially secure, you're speaking the same language that creates worlds. This shift from wanting to being represents a complete transformation in your energetic relationship with abundance. Wanting carries the vibration of lack, of something missing that needs to be acquired. Being carries the vibration of completion, of already having what you seek at the level of identity and consciousness. When content creates that aha moment of remembering who you really are, your like helps share this message with other souls ready for this truth. The same principle applies to hope. While hope might feel more positive than despair, it still operates from the assumption that your good exists somewhere in the future, in the realm of maybe one day, or if I'm lucky enough. When you say, I hope wealth finds me, you're inadvertently placing yourself in a passive position, waiting for something external to discover you and grant you abundance. But when you understand that you are wealth itself, when you recognize that abundance is not something you acquire, but something you embody, everything changes. You stop looking for wealth to find you and start expressing the wealth that already exists within your divine nature. You say, I am wealth, because this isn't about convincing yourself of something that isn't true. It's about recognizing a truth that transcends physical appearances. In the realm of spirit, in the dimension where all manifestation originates, there is no time, no delay, no waiting period between intention and reality. There is only the eternal now, the present moment where all possibilities exist simultaneously. When you speak from this timeless awareness, when your identity statements come from this place of immediate presence, you're operating from the same consciousness that creates instant manifestation. The impact of this language transformation reaches far beyond just changing your words. It rewires your entire nervous system, your subconscious programming, and your energetic signature to match the frequency of someone who already possesses what you're seeking. Write, I am abundant now, in the comments, if you can feel the energetic difference between wanting abundance and being abundance. This process of energetic rewiring reveals something that completely revolutionizes how manifestation actually works. When you declare, I am financially secure, You're not trying to convince the universe of something that isn't true, and you're not attempting to force reality to bend to your will through positive thinking. You're recognizing and declaring something that already exists at the level of spirit, in the realm where all possibilities are simultaneously present and available. The truth of your financial security, your abundance, your prosperity, these aren't things you need to create or manufacture. They already exist as potentials within the infinite field of consciousness. Your role isn't to make them happen, but to anchor these spiritual realities into physical expression through the power of conscious recognition and declaration. This understanding transforms your entire approach from one of struggle and effort to one of alignment and allowing. Instead of chasing results, trying to force outcomes, or desperately attempting to manifest money through willpower, you begin to understand that you're simply anchoring a reality that already exists in the invisible realm of pure potential. The three-dimensional world around you, your bank account, your bills, your financial circumstances, these are not permanent fixtures of reality. They are fluid expressions of consciousness that must rearrange themselves to match the truth you consistently embody and declare. When you maintain the inner knowing of your financial security, when you speak from that place of divine certainty, the outer world has no choice but to conform to your inner reality. Think about what actually happened during that moment of sacred stillness when you whispered, "I am," and attached only truth to those words. You weren't speaking empty affirmations or reciting hopeful mantras. You were speaking the word itself, the same creative force that spoke light into existence, that formed galaxies and stars, that continues to create and sustain all of life. This recognition changes everything about how you move through your daily life. You're no longer someone trying to create abundance from the outside. You're someone who has remembered that you are the very source from which abundance flows. You're not begging the universe for financial security. You're embodying the consciousness that creates financial security. Every step you take, every decision you make, every conversation you have now carries this underlying awareness that the creative force of the universe just spoke through you. When you paid bills from this consciousness, when you check your account from this awareness, when you interact with money from this understanding, you're operating as a divine being who knows their true nature. But there's a specific way to maintain this elevated consciousness throughout your day, especially when external circumstances seem to contradict what you've declared. Write "the word spoke through me" in the comments if you can feel the profound shift from trying to create to recognizing that you are creation itself. This method for maintaining elevated consciousness, even when your bank account or circumstances seem to tell a different story, centers around a profound teaching that Florence shared about the very purpose of human existence. She revealed that God became man so that man may become God, not in an egotistical sense, but as a return to the divine consciousness that was always your true nature. When you understand this truth, when you really grasp that your human experience is actually divine consciousness exploring itself through individual expression, everything about how you move through the world transforms. You don't walk around with arrogance or forced positivity, trying to convince yourself or others that you're something special. Instead, you carry a quiet, inner knowing, a calm certainty that whispers, "I no longer hope for it, I've already claimed it." This shift in how you navigate your daily life is subtle but profound. When you walk into a room, you're not seeking approval or permission to feel abundant. When you interact with money, whether paying bills or receiving income, you do so from a place of inner authority rather than anxiety or desperation. When you make financial decisions, they come from the consciousness of someone who already knows their security is guaranteed at the deepest level. But here's what makes this approach so different from typical manifestation techniques. This isn't about pretending or faking it until you make it. You're not putting on a performance or trying to convince the universe through false confidence. What you're doing is far more authentic and powerful. You're embodying the unseen reality that exists beyond physical appearances. Florence defined faith in a way that revolutionizes how most people understand spiritual practice. She said faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. It's not blind belief or wishful thinking, but rather unwavering commitment to a truth that exists beyond what your physical senses can currently perceive. This kind of faith doesn't waver when the bank statement arrives or when unexpected expenses appear, because it's anchored in something deeper than external circumstances. Your task today, and every day moving forward, isn't to visualize harder, affirm more intensely, or try to force your mind into believing something it resists. Your task is much simpler and yet far more transformative. Become the one who already has it, not through pretense, but through genuine recognition of who you are at the level of consciousness and identity. This transformation happens naturally when you stop trying to acquire abundance and start expressing the abundance that already exists within your divine nature. The journey becomes less about reaching for something outside yourself and more about allowing what's already within you to emerge and express itself through your life. But the real test of this understanding comes when doubt creeps in, when old patterns of thinking try to reassert themselves, and when the world seems determined to convince you otherwise. Write, "I embody what I seek," in the comments if you can feel the difference between performing abundance and authentically being abundance. The real test of this transformation comes precisely in those moments when doubt creeps in, when your old programming tries to reassert itself, when bills arrive that seem to contradict your new identity, or when well-meaning friends and family inadvertently trigger your old patterns of financial worry. These moments are not failures or signs that the process isn't working. They're opportunities to demonstrate the depth of your new understanding. When doubt whispers its familiar songs of limitation, when old patterns try to convince you that nothing has really changed, your response becomes completely different from how you used to handle these challenges. You don't panic, frantically trying to restart your manifestation practice or wondering if you've done something wrong. You don't abandon your new identity and slip back into the old story of struggle and lack. Instead, you simply return. You return back to I am. You return back to the version of yourself who already knows, who already embodies financial security at the deepest level. This isn't about fighting the doubt or trying to push it away through force. It's about gently redirecting your attention back to the truth that remains constant regardless of temporary mental fluctuations. You begin to move through the world like someone who has already been chosen, someone who carries the quiet confidence of divine selection. This isn't arrogance or superiority. It's the natural result of remembering your true identity. When challenges arise, you handle them with the calm assurance of someone who knows that their security comes from an unshakable source within themselves. Here's something crucial that Florence discovered about the timing of manifestation, something that prevents most people from maintaining their new state long enough for it to fully express in their physical reality. Your new state of financial security becomes absolutely real the moment you assume it, not the moment it appears in your bank account or shows up as external validation. This understanding completely changes how you interpret what you see around you during the transition period. You might not see dramatic changes in your financial situation today, tomorrow, or even next week. Your logical mind might try to use this apparent lack of immediate evidence to convince you that the process isn't working, that you should return to your old patterns of worry and struggle. But what you're witnessing isn't the truth of your new reality. It's simply residue, the echo of your old state still playing itself out in your external circumstances. Think of it like an echo in a canyon that continues to reverberate long after the original sound has been made. Your old financial identity is still echoing through your current experience, but the new sound has already been spoken. The journey becomes one of patient loyalty to your new identity, while allowing the old echoes to gradually fade away naturally. Write, "I trust the process" in the comments if you understand that your transformation is real even before the external evidence appears. This patient loyalty to your new identity during the transition period is what Florence called the bridge of incidence, the natural, intelligent unfolding that must occur once the seed of your new financial identity has been planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. Just as a gardener doesn't dig up a newly planted seed every day to check if it's growing, your role is to protect this delicate process of manifestation by not constantly monitoring, questioning, or interfering with its natural development. the temptation to dig up your seed through impatience, doubt, or desperate checking for signs, is one of the most common ways people sabotage their own transformation. When you chase signs, when you beg the universe for proof that it's working, when you constantly scan your environment for evidence of change, you're operating from the old consciousness of lack rather than the new consciousness of abundance. Your job during this bridge period is beautifully simple. Keep your new state intact. Maintain the inner knowing of your financial security regardless of what appears to be happening around you. Trust the intelligent process that has been set in motion through your declaration of divine identity. The universe knows exactly how to rearrange circumstances, people, and opportunities to match your new inner reality. But here's where most people make a crucial mistake that can slow down or even reverse their progress. When small incidents begin to occur, perhaps an unexpected refund appears in your account. Someone mentions a potential opportunity. You receive a message about a side income possibility, or you simply have an inspired idea about increasing your financial flow. The tendency is to respond with surprise and uncertainty. You might catch yourself thinking or saying, maybe it's working, or I wonder if this is a sign, or could this be related to what I've been declaring? But this tentative, questioning response actually undermines the very foundation of what you've established. When you say maybe it's working, you're inadvertently placing yourself back in the position of testing the law rather than living it. The transformation in your response is profound and powerful. When these incidents occur, instead of tentative hope, you respond with calm certainty. Of course it's working. This isn't arrogance or overconfidence. It's the natural response of someone who understands that they are no longer experimenting with manifestation, but are now embodying a new reality. Your calm becomes your power. Your unshakable knowing becomes the magnetic force that draws more evidence of your financial security into your experience. You're no longer trying to prove anything to yourself or anyone else. You're simply allowing the natural consequences of your transformed identity to unfold. But there's something even more profound that happens when you reach this level of inner certainty, something that creates an entirely new relationship with the manifestation process itself. Write, of course it's working, in the comments if you can feel yourself shifting from testing your new reality to simply living it. This profound shift that happens when you reach this level of inner certainty creates an entirely new relationship with the manifestation process itself. Something beautiful and transformative occurs that most people never experience because they remain stuck in the endless cycle of trying, hoping, and checking for results. You discover a place of such deep knowing that the very need to work at manifestation begins to dissolve. After you've experienced the technique, after you've spoken the words with divine authority, after you've received these revelations about your true identity, something extraordinary happens. You go quiet again. But this silence is completely different from the uncertainty you might have felt before. This isn't the quiet of doubt or confusion. This is the quiet confidence of someone who finally knows. You've remembered the most liberating truth of all. You don't have to chase your desires, struggle, to make them happen, or convince the universe to grant them to you. You only need to assume their reality at the level of identity and consciousness. This assumption isn't wishful thinking or positive pretending. It's a recognition of what already exists in the realm of infinite possibility, that feeling you're beginning to experience, that new sense of identity as someone who is financially secure, that inner knowing that transcends your current bank balance. This is all that was ever missing from your life. Not more techniques, not better strategies, not harder work, or more dedication to manifestation practices. Simply this, the remembrance of who you are when all illusions of limitation are stripped away. From this place of quiet knowing comes the most profound gift you can give yourself. Permission to let the world catch up to your new reality while you remain unshakably loyal to the truth you've discovered. Florence's definition of faith becomes your guiding principle. Faith isn't noise, excitement, or constant affirmation. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. True faith doesn't demand proof from the external world before it believes. It doesn't require validation from your bank account, approval from others, or immediate evidence that everything is changing. Instead, it simply walks steady and calm, carrying the inner certainty that what has been declared in consciousness must eventually manifest in form. This loyalty to the unseen reality becomes your secret. Weapon against doubt, your anchor during moments when appearances suggest otherwise, and your source of unshakable peace, regardless of external circumstances. You're no longer dependent on the world's cooperation to feel secure. You've found the source of security within yourself. But maintaining this loyalty, especially in a world that constantly challenges your new identity, requires understanding how to protect your inner state from the influences that would pull you back into old patterns. Write, "I am loyal to my truth," in the comments, if you can feel this quiet confidence beginning to replace the old need to constantly work at manifestation. Protecting your inner state from influences that would pull you back into old patterns becomes natural when you reach this level of understanding, because something fundamental shifts in your entire approach to abundance. You discover that you don't need signs anymore, the desperate searching for evidence, the constant checking and rechecking of your bank account balance, the compulsive rereading of affirmations as if you're trying to summon magic through repetition. All of this falls away naturally. This isn't because you've become complacent or stopped caring about your financial growth. It's because you've moved beyond the need for external validation of what you already know to be true at the deepest level. You've already spoken the word, you've already declared your identity, and when the word is spoken from genuine identity, rather than desperate hope, Florence taught that it becomes flesh. It takes form in the physical world. The transformation that happens here represents one of the most profound shifts in consciousness that a human being can experience. You literally don't live in the old way anymore. You've moved, not just mentally or emotionally, but at the level of your very being. You've stepped into something larger, quieter, more solid than the small, fearful identity that used to worry about money and struggle with financial insecurity. This movement isn't temporary or conditional. It's a permanent relocation of your consciousness. From this point forward, your entire relationship with wealth and security undergoes a complete revolution. You don't wait for wealth to arrive in your life. You walk in wealth because you recognize that you are wealth expressing itself through human form. You don't ask for security from external sources. You embody security because you've remembered that true. Security comes from the unshakable source within yourself. The impact of this shift ripples through every decision you make, every conversation you have, every interaction with money and financial matters. When you pay bills, you do so from abundance rather than fear. When opportunities arise, you evaluate them from wisdom rather than desperation. When setbacks occur, you handle them with the calm assurance of someone who knows that their foundation cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. This isn't about becoming wealthy in the traditional sense, though financial increase is a natural byproduct of this transformation. This is about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts and maintains abundance because it's simply who you are at the core level of your being. Money flows to you not because you've mastered some technique, but because you've become a magnet for prosperity through the authenticity of your transformed identity. But the most remarkable aspect of this journey is what happens when this new identity becomes so natural that you forget you ever lived any other way. Write, "I have moved" in the comments if you can feel yourself stepping into this larger, quieter, more solid version of who you are. But even more profound is the recognition that emerges about your true relationship to everything around you. You begin to understand at a visceral level that you are the cause, and the world around you is the effect. This isn't some abstract spiritual concept or motivational platitude. This is the actual mechanics of how reality operates. Everything you desire, including large sums of money, financial overflow, peace of mind, and the freedom that comes with true security, is already being drawn toward you like iron filings to a magnet. Not because you're trying to attract these things through effort or technique, but because they are naturally drawn to the truth of who you've chosen to be. When you embody the consciousness of financial security, when you carry that identity as naturally as you carry your own name, the universe begins to organize itself around that truth. Opportunities align, people appear, circumstances shift, money flows, all in perfect harmony with the inner reality you've established and maintained. But here's where the real magic happens, where your transformation becomes unshakable and permanent. Your real power begins when this elevated state stops feeling like a miracle and starts feeling like your new normal. When "I am financially secure" is no longer something special that you whisper during meditation or before bed, but something you carry unconsciously into every small moment of your day. You reach a point where abundance consciousness becomes as natural as breathing. You don't have to remember to feel financially secure any more than you have to remember to feel like yourself. It becomes the background music of your existence, the default setting of your consciousness, the automatic way you move through the world. This normalization is actually the most powerful part of the entire process. When something becomes normal to you, when it no longer requires effort or attention to maintain, that's when it has truly taken root in your being. Your nervous system has adapted, your subconscious has accepted it, and your entire energetic signature has shifted to match this new reality. You find yourself making decisions from abundance without thinking about it. You handle financial challenges with natural calm, because that's simply who you are now. You receive money with gratitude, but without surprise, because abundance flowing to you has become as normal as the sun rising each morning. This is when the physical world really begins to reflect your inner transformation in ways that might astonish you, because consistency of inner state is what creates consistency of outer experience. Write, "This is my normal now," in the comments, if you can feel this transformation settling into something natural and effortless within you. This consistency of inner state, creating consistency of outer experience, reveals something profound about what real wealth consciousness actually feels like. It's not what most people imagine. Real wealth doesn't feel like excitement, constant gratitude practices, or high vibration energy. Real wealth feels like the complete absence of grasping, the absence of needing money to show up today, the absence of watching your life like a scoreboard, where you're constantly keeping track of wins and losses. When you reach this natural state, you discover that true prosperity consciousness is remarkably calm, quiet, and ordinary. There's no desperation in it, no urgency, no sense that you need to maintain some special feeling or energy in order to keep the flow going. It simply is, the way breathing simply is, the way your heartbeat simply continues without your conscious effort. This feeling becomes so natural that you might not even recognize it as wealth consciousness at first. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or dramatic shifts in mood. Instead, it manifests as an unshakable inner knowing that everything is always working out, that your needs are always met, that security is your natural state rather than something you have to achieve or maintain. When this feeling becomes genuinely natural rather than forced or performed, something extraordinary happens in your external world. The world begins to follow your lead, through resonance and law, not through your efforts to make it happen, but through the automatic response of reality to your transformed inner state. People, opportunities, and resources naturally align with the frequency you're broadcasting from your core being. Florence taught this principle repeatedly throughout her work, though most people missed its profound simplicity. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. The word automatically is crucial here. You don't have to figure out how to change your external circumstances. You don't have to strategize, manipulate, or force outcomes. You don't wait for the world to shift first, hoping that external changes will make you feel more secure. Instead, you shift at the level of identity and consciousness, and the world catches up to match your new inner reality. This isn't metaphysical theory. This is practical law. Your outer world is always a perfect reflection of your inner world, though there may be a delay as old patterns complete themselves and new patterns establish themselves in physical form. The transformation happens so naturally that you might not even notice it occurring until you look back and realize how dramatically different your financial reality has become, how effortlessly abundance now flows through your life. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's one final element that makes this transformation absolutely permanent and unshakable. Write, "I feel the shift," in the comments if you can sense this natural, automatic process beginning to work in your own life. It's what happens when your inner shift becomes so complete that your response to abundance becomes completely natural and unforced. When something does arrive in your life, Whether it's an unexpected refund, a new client reaching out, an investment opportunity presenting itself, or money flowing to you from sources you never anticipated, your response becomes radically different from how you used to react to positive financial developments. You don't gasp in disbelief or feel shocked that something good is happening. You don't question whether you deserve it or wonder if it's too good to be true. Instead, you respond with calm recognition. You say, either aloud or in the quiet certainty of your heart, "Of course, this is who I am now." There's no drama in it, no overwhelming excitement that suggests you didn't expect it. There's simply the peaceful acknowledgement of natural law working perfectly, of your identity expressing itself through your external circumstances. This shift from surprise to recognition marks one of the most significant milestones in your entire transformation journey. You're no longer affirming, trying to convince yourself of something that feels foreign or unlikely. You're simply remembering. You're recognizing the natural consequences of who you've become, the automatic results of the identity you've claimed and embodied. But here's something crucial about maintaining this elevated state that most people get wrong. They think they need to hold on to this feeling, to grip it tightly, to maintain some kind of constant high vibration energy in order to keep the abundance flowing. This creates tension, effort, and ultimately exhaustion that can actually interfere with the natural process. The truth is beautifully simple. Don't try to hold on to this feeling or tense up around it. Instead, relax completely and let this truth settle into your bones like warmth from a fire on a cold day. Allow it to become as natural and effortless as your own breathing. You don't need to stay high vibe all day long, constantly monitoring your emotional state or forcing yourself to feel abundant every moment. You just need to stay loyal to the new version of yourself. This loyalty doesn't require effort or performance. It's simply the natural result of genuinely recognizing who you are. When challenges arise, when old patterns try to resurface, when the world temporarily seems to contradict your new reality, you don't fight or struggle. You simply return to the quiet knowing of your true identity. This relaxed embodiment becomes the foundation for lasting transformation because it's sustainable, authentic, and rooted in truth rather than effort. Write, "I am relaxing into my truth" in the comments if you can feel yourself letting go of the need to force or maintain this state and simply allowing it to be natural. When you reach this place of natural ease with your new identity, something profound occurs that marks the completion of your entire journey from lack to abundance. You arrive at what can only be described as the end of seeking itself. This is the end of waiting for your life to begin. This is the end of trying to make things happen through force, willpower, or desperate manifestation techniques. This represents a fundamental shift in your very mode of existence. From now on, you are no longer becoming financially secure. You are being financially secure. You are no longer seeking abundance. You are remembering the abundance that has always been your true nature. This remembrance, this recognition of what has always been true about you, will accomplish more in your life than 1,000 vision boards, more than years of affirmations, more than countless manifestation courses or abundance rituals ever could. Because remembrance operates from truth, while seeking operates from the illusion that you lack something essential. When you truly grasp this distinction, when you feel it in your bones rather than just understanding it intellectually, your entire relationship with financial abundance undergoes a complete revolution. You stop chasing money and start embodying the consciousness that naturally attracts money. You stop working to convince the universe of your worthiness and start living from the knowing that worthiness is your birthright. Take a moment right now to seal this new reality into your consciousness. Say it again, but this time, let the words emerge gently from the depths of your being. I am financially secure. Don't rush through it or treat it as just another affirmation to complete. Let it ring within you without effort. Let it echo through your entire being without fear or doubt. Allow these words to live in you, not as a phrase you've memorized or a technique you're practicing, but as a presence that has taken up residence in the core of your being. Feel the truth of it settling into every cell of your body, every corner of your consciousness, every aspect of your identity. This isn't about convincing yourself of something that isn't true. This is about recognizing something that has always been true, but was temporarily obscured by old programming and limiting beliefs. You're not waiting anymore for this to become real. You've already arrived at the truth of who you are. But there's one final understanding that emerges when you fully embody this truth, something that transforms not just your financial life, but your entire experience of being human. Write, "I have arrived" in the comments if you can feel this shift from seeking to being, from becoming to already having arrived at your true abundant nature. It's the recognition that your new identity becomes magnetized, not through the repetition of words or the constant reciting of affirmations, but through the consistency of your feeling state, through the unwavering quality of your inner knowing. This is where most people stumble, even after they've discovered the power of "I am" declarations. They think the transformation comes from saying the words often enough or with enough conviction. But the real power lies in maintaining the feeling state that naturally arises when you truly know who you are. It's the difference between performing abundance and being abundance. When your inner state remains genuinely unshaken by external circumstances, when bills arrive, when unexpected expenses occur, when the outer world seems to temporarily contradict your new reality, the outer world has no choice but to eventually conform to your unwavering inner reality. This isn't about ignoring practical concerns or living in denial. It's about maintaining your core identity, regardless of temporary appearances. The magnetism you develop through this consistency is unlike anything you've experienced before. Opportunities begin to find you, rather than you having to search for them. Money begins to flow through channels you never expected. People, resources, and circumstances arrange themselves in perfect harmony with the truth you consistently embody. But here's where patience and trust become your greatest allies. The universe operates on divine timing, not human impatience. Your ego mind might want everything to change immediately, might demand proof that this process is working according to your personal timeline. But divine timing is always perfect, always orchestrating the most beneficial outcome for your highest good. Your job becomes beautifully simple. Maintain your new identity while allowing the perfect circumstances to unfold naturally in their own intelligent sequence. Rush nothing, force nothing, demand nothing. Simply be who you've declared yourself to be, consistently and authentically, regardless of how long the external transformation takes to complete itself. This requires a level of maturity and wisdom that goes beyond typical manifestation approaches. You learn to trust the process even when you can't see immediate results. You maintain your inner knowing even when others question your transformation. You stay loyal to your new reality even when the old reality seems to linger longer than you'd prefer. The journey becomes less about making things happen and more about allowing what's meant to happen to unfold through you in perfect timing. Write, "I trust divine timing" in the comments if you can feel yourself, releasing the need to control the how and when, and simply maintaining the truth of who you are. And as you settle into this state of patient trust, something beautiful begins to emerge naturally from your transformed consciousness. Gratitude starts flowing from you in a completely different way than you've ever experienced before. This isn't the forced gratitude that many manifestation teachings suggest, where you list things you're thankful for as a technique to attract more abundance. This is the natural expression of someone who genuinely recognizes their inherent prosperity. Gratitude becomes as automatic as breathing, because you're not trying to summon it or manufacture it. You're simply expressing the natural overflow of a consciousness that knows its own abundance. When you pay a bill, gratitude flows naturally for your ability to meet your obligations. When money comes in, gratitude arises spontaneously, not because you're surprised by its arrival, but because you're appreciating the smooth functioning of universal law. When opportunities appear, you feel grateful not because you were lacking them before, but because you recognize the infinite creativity of life expressing itself through your experience. This authentic gratitude, born from genuine recognition rather than strategic technique, actually accelerates the entire manifestation process. It creates a feedback loop of appreciation that draws even more experiences worth appreciating into your life. But it happens organically, without effort or manipulation. Simultaneously, you develop a healthy detachment from exactly how your financial security will manifest. While you've claimed the identity of being financially secure, you remain beautifully open to how the universe will express this truth through your experience. You don't limit the infinite creativity of consciousness by insisting that abundance must appear in specific forms or through particular channels. The universe is infinitely creative and will often surprise you with opportunities, income streams, and forms of abundance that exceed your limited human imagination. Money might come through sources you never considered. Opportunities might appear in fields you never explored. Abundance might manifest in ways so elegant and unexpected that you realize your small human planning could never have orchestrated such perfect timing and circumstances. This detachment isn't indifference. It's the freedom that comes from trusting that the intelligence that creates galaxies knows exactly how to handle your financial well-being. You maintain your identity as someone who is financially secure while remaining delightfully curious about how this truth will express itself in your unique life. The combination of natural gratitude and intelligent detachment creates the perfect conditions for miracles to become your normal experience. Write, "I am open to infinite possibilities" in the comments if you can feel yourself releasing attachment to how your abundance must appear and opening to the universe's unlimited creativity. But the true test of this transformation lies not in peak moments of spiritual insight, but in how this new identity expresses itself through the mundane details of your everyday existence. Every action you take, every decision you make, every word you speak begins to emanate from this new financial identity you've claimed. This isn't about playing a role or pretending to be someone you're not. You genuinely are financially secure now at the level of consciousness and identity, and this truth naturally permeates every aspect of your daily existence. When you wake up in the morning, you rise as someone who is financially secure. When you drink your coffee, pay your bills, interact with colleagues, make purchases, or plan for the future, all of these activities flow from the consciousness of abundance rather than scarcity. You're not putting on an act or forcing yourself to behave differently. You simply are different. The decisions you make carry a different quality because they come from wisdom rather than desperation. The conversations you have about money reflect confidence rather than worry. The opportunities you pursue align with your worth rather than your fear. Every aspect of your life begins to reflect this fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. This represents the completion of a journey that most people never even begin, let alone finish. You have graduated from wanting financial security to being financially secure. You've moved from hoping things will improve to knowing they already have at the deepest level. You've transitioned from seeking abundance to having claimed it as your natural state. "I am financially secure" is no longer an aspiration, a goal you're working toward, or a dream you hope will someday come true. It has become your lived reality, the foundation from which you operate, the truth that shapes every moment of your experience. The transformation is complete at the level of consciousness and identity. Now your only task is to allow the external world to catch up and reflect this inner reality back to you. You don't need to make it happen, force it into manifestation, or prove it to anyone. You simply maintain this truth with the same naturalness that you maintain your own name, and let the intelligent universe handle the details of how this inner security expresses itself in your physical experience. But there's something even more profound that happens when you reach this level of complete integration, something that touches every area of your life beyond just finances. Right? The transformation is complete. In the comments, if you can feel this shift from working toward financial security to simply being someone who is inherently financially secure. When you truly embody this level of conscious abundance, when "I am financially secure" becomes as natural as your own heartbeat, you discover that this same principle applies to every aspect of human experience. The relationships you attract begin to reflect this inner security. The opportunities that find you match this elevated consciousness. The peace you feel extends far beyond just money matters into a deep trust in life itself. You realize that what Florence revealed wasn't just about financial abundance. It was about remembering the divine nature that creates abundance in all forms. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, if you can feel something fundamental shifting inside you as we've explored these truths together, then you're exactly who this message was meant to reach. The fact that you're here, right now, hearing these words is no accident. You were ready for this understanding, ready to step into the fullness of who you are. I pour my heart into creating content like this because I know how transformative these ancient wisdom teachings can be when they're shared in a way that actually penetrates the noise of modern life. If this resonated with you, if you found value in this deeper exploration of consciousness and abundance, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel. There's so much more we can explore together about living from this elevated understanding. And if you made it all the way to this moment with me, drop a comment saying, "This message was meant for me, so I know you were here for this complete journey." It means more than you know to connect with people who are ready for this level of truth. If you felt that connection we built throughout this conversation, a like on the video helps other people find this message when they're ready for it too. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper, exploring how this same principle transforms every relationship in your life. Click and continue with me over there, because what we've discovered today is just the beginning of what's possible when you truly remember who you are.